World, it is I mean, I know it's hot. You said it's hot where you're at.
It's hot. It is like is it they call it Indian summer? I don't like that term. It's false fall. It's false fall is what it is. Listen,
it's
it was
gotcha
like 60,
fall.
Gotcha fall. It was 60, 70 degrees all week here in the northeast, mid northeast coast, whatever, the Del Mar area. Yeah. And now it's 80 degrees and I'm sweating. Our AC is off. I have my Halloween decorations up and I'm just like, who did this? Who allowed this?
It's so funny because, like, growing up in Florida, I would always like watch these movies that were like, you know, had fall scenes and autumn scenes, and most of them were obviously like in the north. I feel like the Northeast, and it would like show these beautiful scenes of fall, and I feel like I could like smell the acorns and smell the autumn leaves. And then I finally move up here to the Pacific Northwest, and I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm actually experiencing fall and like autumn, where back where I'm at in Florida, it's still probably 100 degrees. And there's no sense of, to me, like that nice weather there, where maybe it would, for a week in January or February, drop below 50 degrees, where next week I'm looking at 59 degrees here. So I'm loving this fall weather. Yeah.
Portlandia.
Yeah. So Portland. It's Sunday. Woke up, chose violence. Nothing casual about these comic books, about some of the stuff. There's a ton of people, not a ton, but you know, a modest amount of people here. And we've got Brandon first to the chat. Normally it's either between him and Travis. So thank you for being here. Almost done with GA Renew Your Vows. Okay, Mars, I'm still sad about Connor.
Okay, me too. And it's been years.
I think we could probably do a show about like all of the deaths that we're still, or deaths or like things that we're still salty about.
Leanne Harper would be on the top of my list, and I would rant for an hour about it because there's so much shit that goes on behind the scenes with that one, and I'm not happy. I'm not a happy girl.
Oh no. Well, thank you for everyone else for being here. Thank you for breaking our hearts. Gary B, thank you for being here. Sam's Tangled Web, hello. Unruly Simeon, hello to you. And then, of course, to our beautiful friend, Sheena. Absolutely love to see you here, girl. And then, love you. Dave collects. Hey, y'all, I don't know how I'm awake, but I'm here. You know,
me either.
Same. It's 10 o'clock here.
It's 1 p.m. here, and I'm still like same.
Scott, hello. Scott and I did Dune book club. We have been reading. Where's it at?
You know, funny story. My grandmother's been reading Dune. Can she join the book club?
Hell yeah. I need to get Granny's thoughts on some of this stuff. Yeah, for sure. So you can check that out. We're 2/3 done with Dune Messiah. After we'll be doing the movie, and then hopefully we'll be picking up on Children of Dune. So you can check that out over on Comic Chop News. I did not do the reading. I will be looking over everyone's shoulder. Okay, got it. So you'll be cheating, is what you're going to be doing. Sounds like
cheating.
Hello, reading comics while black. Cheers, everyone. Let's see here. Azorus Tiger, thank you for being here. Good morning. Of course, HK Wifey again. Sheena, beautiful lady. Sleepy Reader 666 Damien, hello, thank you for being here. Another PNWer. I think that's it. Oh nope, it jumped on me. I'm so sorry. We've got beautiful Sanimation here. Hello, Queens. Oh, I love you. Here in the Pacific Northwest, where sometimes it's sunny, but everything is wet season. That is accurate. It's like everything is wet, and sometimes it gets sunny. It's not really humid. Kaiser Jose and James Perez, hello. I think that's it for the chat. Everyone else who chats after this, or pop up and say hello. And I'll go ahead and pop that comment up. But Mars, I think that we have some news. We've got lots of news, and you were so prepared. I love it. What's some of the news on your mind, on your heart, on your brain?
everything.
Everything.
Anyway, so this week we had the Diamond Retailer Summit, or I guess it was last weekend, but we're reporting it this weekend because it happened after the show.
Okay.
So we had the Diamond Retailer Summit, and for those of you that don't know, it's usually a big event, usually held out in Portland. Sometimes it's in Washington, D.C., but it tends to move, between the East and the West Coast. But it's usually a time when all of the publishers get together and they invite people from comic shops and sometimes journalists and things like that, and they discuss the comic sales and things that are coming up throughout the year.
And it's a big thing for publishers too, to like kind of announce where their directions are going for some of their books,
how their sales have been and all that.
Yeah.
So this year was a little different because, with the pandemic, of course, things are going to be a little bit different, and everything was virtual this year. However, what made it even stranger was the fact that Image Comics was not there for really weird reasons that remain unknown, and Marvel was not there, which we can all understand now that they've broken away from Diamond Distributions. But it's the fact that Image Comics, which is based out in Portland and is usually the front runner of the Diamond Retailer Summit, pulled out of this year's, conference without any reason why, to, how, or what. It's really, really strange to me.
To me, it's them saying, we're probably going to be breaking from Diamond soon, especially because last year at the start of the pandemic, we saw DC cut ties with Diamond. We also saw Scout break away from Diamond. And then, of course, Marvel this last year broke away from Diamond. So to see Image not there at the Diamond Retailer Summit, to me, that points to all directions saying
they're breaking up.
They're breaking up. So I'm just waiting for that announcement to drop, or maybe I don't know.
But aside from the fact that some of the larger retailers were missing, or larger publishers were missing, it seemed to prove a really great year for comics, despite us being in a lockdown and in a pandemic. So Diamond overall sales were up by 18%. And when we look at that breakdown, graphic novel sales were up by 45% in 2020, and comics single issues themselves were up by 19.5%. So anybody who tells you that comics are dying and the pandemic is going to kill comics and just whatever is killing comics, it's a lie. The facts are here, the statistics are here. Comics are not dying. If anything, they're thriving more than they have in years, despite a pandemic.
Yep. And I think excuse me, next year we're probably going to see a big drop in graphic novel sales. Like, I don't think that graphic novel sales themselves will be up over this year, because I think a lot of us during the pandemic were like, okay, single issues aren't coming out. Let me get my fix by getting graphic novels. I'm stuck inside. Let me go ahead and get these collected editions. And I wish that there was a breakdown for omnibuy, because I feel like omnibuys, because I feel like omnibus, everyone's getting onto omnibuses right now.
I don't get it.
I'm a reader. It's too big.
It's too big. I don't need to carry a 10-ton book in my lap. Not only that, but I feel very awkward when I'm flipping through it. I'm also the type of person that likes to take my comics on the go. My purse, specifically the one I carry around, is big enough so that way I can tote around comics and graphic novels. Like, listen, we go shopping, I see a new purse, it's got to pass the comic check. So the omnibus is not going to pass the comic check, or the purse check. So I am not going to be picking up any.
Yeah. It definitely, I think that they're like, and I do get like digital readership, and I do get that, but for me to hold an omnibus, it's not comfortable reading. I'm not going to carry it with me, or I'm definitely going to have like, one, maybe
much.
2 or 3. Yeah.
Way too much.
But I get the shelf appeal of it.
I personally think and I have one down here, but it's out of reach. I personally think that the Eclectic edition, I can't speak today. I personally think that the collected editions that Image Comics has been doing for series like Saga, Paper Girl, Sunstone, even I think we saw it with Midwest, where they're those mid-size hardcovers.
Yeah.
I think that those are like perfect. I know I can't take them outside of the house, but it still doesn't feel like I have a 10-ton brick laying in my lap. And personally, I think they look cuter sitting on a shelf than an omnibus.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that the Image has been pretty consistent with how their omnibuses look, where like especially with Marvel doing omnibuses, it changes a lot. So like, you know, maybe Marvel will be at the top of the spine and then maybe go down. So for someone who's like, I really want the shelf appeal of how an omnibus looks, it can like change. I don't know. I know that's like a stupid, is it stupid though?
And I think that the dust covers are stupid. I think dust
Yeah.
covers are the worst thing ever. Where Image is just they make really nice hardbacks, but
They
we're
do.
not here to argue about omnibuses.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about comics. So with Image pulling out, that left it to the smaller indie publishers like Volt and Oni and Boom. Volt, you know, has been having a really great year, and they even said
Yeah.
that they've been having a really great year. And speaking of omnibuses, they did
Mm-hmm.
announce that they will be releasing a omnibus for Heathen, which is one of
Mm-hmm.
their very early but very successful comic series about lesbian Vikings. So if you
Yeah.
haven't picked that up, now is going to be the perfect time to do so. And I think that's going to be one of those cute omnibuses because that series was only about 20 issues. So that might be
Yeah.
one I have to pick up.
And I think was it Vault who said that their direction going forward is that they are going to release one new title a month. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be like overwhelming. I think for readers and for shops, that feels like it's, to me immediately when I heard that, it feels like they're pulling back a little bit on all of the titles that they're going to do. And I feel like they've almost already been doing one title a month. But I like that, you know, it's one announcement per month, so we kind of know what to expect with them. Maybe
Because
a
at the
little bit more
beginning of the year,
consistent.
we were starting to see 2 to 3 titles come out every month, and we would start to get, you know, we would start to lose track. And I honestly think that that kind of killed some of the quality of some of the books. As we've talked about, it feels like Volt kind of does this weird roller coaster where
Yeah.
we'll have 2 or 3 books that we really love for them, but then the next 2 or 3 books we'll really, really hate. And I
Or
feel like it
maybe
might be because of that quality over quantity that we've been feeling lately.
or maybe we really like the first issue of something, and then like the second issue is like, what's up with this? And then we read the third issue and we're like, wait, we thought this was going to be our favorite book of the year. And then we get to issue 4 and we're like, what the fuck is going on? And then we're like, wait, I thought it was supposed to end at issue 5, and then issue 6 comes out, and
It's
hollow
just a
heart, I'm
mess.
looking at you.
It's just a
Um,
mess.
yeah.
But speaking of Volt, and this was a theme amongst a lot of the indie publishers, is the fact and the idea of returnability with comic book shops. So if you're unaware, when you work in a comic book shop and you order these comics, more than likely you're stuck with the copies that you buy, whether people buy them or not. However, lately it feels like publishers have been getting on this bandwagon. Publishers like DC and Marvel, well, I don't think Marvel's doing it, but DC is doing it, Image is definitely doing it, and now Volt, Boom, and Oni are following suit, where if people don't buy copies left on a shelf, comic shops will have the option to return these copies at a full refund if they do so by a certain date. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's really great because then it allows more shops to take that chance and to have more copies in their store. And if a title sells really, really well, that's great for both the shop, the publisher, the creative team, and whatnot. But if not, then they just return it, and it's basically like a no harm, no fail sort of situation. I know my
Exactly.
shop has really been taking advantage of the returnability, so it's really great to see that in 2020 or 2021, as comics are getting bigger and bigger, it feels like, especially with single issues, especially with comics journalism, it feels like maybe it's just on our side of the world, but
Yeah.
with comics journalism, it's going to allow people more of a chance to get into these series because shops are going to be more willing to take a risk on having them on their shelves rather than just leaving them open to special orders.
Exactly. And I think that there's also an accountability with the publisher too to promote their work. And um, for even someone like me who is like, I don't necessarily want to say like in the industry, I guess I like kind of am, like I'm very in tune with it, and a lot of times the only people that I see really pushing books is going to be the creators, and it's because I've decided to follow them on those creator social medias. Whereas even with a company like Image, the only time I really hear like publishing news is whenever I get that email from Kat Salazar, because I've signed up for these emails, and it's like Kat Salazar writes like a cute little pun headline for the subject, like "Stray Dogs is barking. Issue number 4 goes to second printing," or something like that. And so I think that this will also increase accountability with these companies to do much better marketing, and not just reach people who are in tune with the industry, but reach people and bring more people in. I think that's what we need to do. We obviously need to bring more people into this industry.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So jumping from Volt over to IDW, IDW I feel like is one of those publishers that we don't talk about a whole lot on the channel, and I think for a good reason. And with the Diamond Retailer Summit and the announcement they made, I feel like that's going to change.
Yeah.
So IDW for the longest time was really known as that like licensee publisher. So they did Transformers,
Star
they did
Trek,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've got deals going on with Starville and Marvel Action right now. However, they announced this year that in 2022, they're going to be focusing a lot more on indie titles and a lot more on creator-owned stories, which I think is really, really exciting, because I feel like we've kind of been seeing that with Dark Horse, and we've gotten some really, really great stories from Dark Horse over the year. Because I personally feel like for the longest time, they also felt like another licensee publisher with video games and things like that.
Like
So,
The Witcher, right? And I'm trying to
we had
think
The
of what
Witcher,
else.
we had Mass Effect, Dragon Age comics, Apex
Who
Legends
did
comics.
Magic the Gathering? Was that Boom?
Magic the Gathering was Boom.
Okay.
But even that kind of feels like an indie comic, and I feel like it's marketed as an indie comic in its own right, whereas a lot of these other books are kind of marketed as tie-ins, especially to big films. So we've seen that success with Dark Horse with titles like Black Hammer. We've seen it with Crimson Flower. Some of these really, really great indie titles that have been allowed to flourish.
Jenny Zero was such
Zero.
a good sci-fi mech. Oh, I loved Jenny Zero.
And Sleepy Reader did say it sounds like IDW has been noticing Boom success, and I think that is absolutely correct, because when we look at indie publishers, aside from Image, I feel like Boom Studios was the most successful again this year, especially because they had titles like Something Is Killing the Children, they had House of Slaughter, which is coming out, Berserker, they also have something, I mean, I know I'm biased, but Seven Secrets, which seems to be selling,
The Many Deaths of Layla Starr.
Many Deaths of Layla Starr, absolutely.
The Many Deaths of Layla Starr and The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which I bought like 1,000 copies of. So hopefully, try to make it successful.
And then kind of closing off Diamond's Retailer Summit, Boom came through, and, we were just talking about Boom's success, and, Berserker, with no surprise, ended up being a huge success with more than 650,000 copies of Berserker #1 sold worldwide.
I think that's,
or maybe that's all of Berserker.
That may be all of Berserker, but I think that doesn't count I can't recall if that actually counts the money that they got from the Kickstarter, but I think technically Berserker is one of the top titles, like the top issues that have like ever released.
I think so too. And then Something Is Killing the Children, which is another one of those top titles, sold 1.1 million copies in the span of 18 months.
What did? Something Is
Killing the Children. That to me is absolutely insane, and with good reason. And it only makes sense that House of Slaughter, which has not even released yet, already has 350,000 copies sold.
Yep. I think, and hear me out, I think not necessarily that, I think people know that they missed out buying issue 1 of Something Is Killing the Children, so they're like, I'm not going to let that happen with House of Slaughter. So I think people are really tuning into indie comics this way, and I think that people, like, there's a little bit of speculation there for House of Slaughter, which, get it, like, please buy 100 copies of this book from your local comic book store and read it. Please read it. Please read Something Is Killing the Children, because it's a fantastic book.
It is a fantastic series. It is.
And so Chaos in Comics says IDW also lost the rights for Star Wars High Republic Adventures.
Did they really?
I believe that's what it said. Either, man, now I'm like getting my like news. They either lost it or that's one of the only things that they're keeping. I'm pretty sure that they lost Star Wars High Republic Adventures as well, which is
that's crazy.
Which is actually like a pretty fun title, especially because I feel like it's more geared towards kids, which of course is why me as a 30-something-year-old adult is reading it.
Absolutely. But the Dine Retailer Summit, you know, it really just made me look at comics from a larger perspective, and it made me start to kind of go back and view how comics have been doing in 2020, because as I said, there's a lot of people out there that have this really weird impression, and maybe it's just one particular subcategory of people that I will not name, but they seem to have this weird impression that comic books are dying and that within the next 5 years we're no longer going to have comic books, but that's not the case. I mean, if we look at 2020 specifically, graphic novels sold $835 million worth of sales. $835 million. That's insane.
And sorry, so is that new current issues that are coming out?
That is specifically for graphic novels. If we want to look at comic books and single issues in 2020, that was 285 million. However, I think that the large gap not only is because I do think that the medium is changing. I have thought for a long while that especially with indie comics, we really just need to start going to an OGN format rather than a single issue, and maybe leave the periodicals for, you know, the big two possibly.
I think that eventually
a lot of it too was with us being in the pandemic.
Exactly. I think eventually that may be where the industry does shift to eventually. That may be one of those like publisher by publisher type things. And especially because I cannot say this enough right now, there is a huge shortage there's a huge paper shortage. There have been production issues as well as logistical issues. And this has obviously affected the comic book industry. So I think that if that continues for multiple years, I do think that ultimately they will scale down single issues. And I think that they will go towards more graphic novels. Do I think that they'll ever go away? No, of course not. I think that single issues there will always be a place.
There's always going to be a place in a collector's market for it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most interesting things that I saw when I was looking at these sales, and I want to say that Jen's habits will save the comic book industry alone. Jen's habits, just making that clear, y'all. Jen's habits.
Yeah.
Remember, she's the one that coined dumb bitch money. That wasn't me. I just followed along. Yeah. That is her slogan, first, forever, and always.
I just go to the comic book store and I hand them, I mean, I do Apple Pay, so I don't hand them a credit card, but I'm like, okay, put it on the dumb bitch account because she's paying for it today.
But one of the really interesting things that I wanted to touch on before we move on to our next news bit is, because we've been talking about this for 20 minutes and with good cause, is the direct sales market. And the giant difference that there is between the two. So when we look at where the majority of these sales come from, believe it or not, they come from big book channels. So places like Barnes and Noble
and Books A Million.
$645 million compared to comic stores that are only at $440 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think Amazon might be factored in with that book channels, I would assume. But it still makes me sad. However, there is some good news with that. That huge gap really is only with 2020. If we start to look at, at it from across time with 2019 and 2018, it really is neck and neck, with 2018 even taking the lead for comic book stores. And it was only in 2019 where we started to see that shift. And like I said, it was only by a minuscule amount. So we can definitely factor that to the pandemic. But that leads me with wanting to say, support your local comic book shop. I understand that sometimes it may be cheaper to order from Amazon or from Barnes and Noble. Sometimes it may be more convenient. However, your local comic book shop really does thrive and survive on these sales, on these pre-orders. And a lot of times, if you talk to your local comic book shop and you pre-order a graphic novel, sometimes they'll give you a discount. My personal shop will do 10% if it's pre-ordered. So to me, that's sometimes about what Amazon discounts you. So I would say just talk to your local comic book shop, see if they have deals, wait for their sales, because comic shops are always having sales on graphic novels, but really do support them versus some of these bigger chains.
And what I would say as well is, I mean, like, I could talk a little bit about like politics and economics and things like that. Like, seriously though, like, folks, like, the money that goes into your local economy, every single dollar that's spent in your local economy travels locally. So when you think about going and spending money at your local comic book store, the local comic shop owner probably goes and maybe they for instance, like, pay a babysitter money, so that money goes back into the local economy. Maybe they go out to a local store to go ahead and like maybe they buy lunch from a local business owner. So that money travels locally, where if you, and I understand, I've lived in a small town. I understand that sometimes the only bookstore that you have is Barnes and Noble. Like I've been there, I get it. But like seriously, we need, like, there are comic shops like mine who will ship to you. I even had a comic book shop in South Carolina where I lived for a little bit who would ship me my comics to Florida. So even if you don't have one locally, you can still spend to like a local business owner who needs that. And speaking of Amazon, because I want to bring this up, Amazon said that this cover was too horrific for them to promote, which I mean, like, there's dumber shit out there. I'm not gonna like, anyways. But go and buy this book from your local comic book store because it's a fantastic title. It was a really, really good. It's spooky
One
season.
of the best horror titles we've gotten in a long while. Not
by
let
Vault.
alone one of the best titles we got, I think, period, all of last year. So definitely pick up the Autumnal.
So go pick that up. And, you know, if Amazon doesn't want to sell it to you, then go buy it from your local bookstore. And once again, you know, we could talk about some people only have access to Amazon. They may live in more rural areas, maybe for the price, but it may be $4 or $5 more expensive to get it from your local shop, but that money is going to go into the local economy. So there's my spend money locally when you can, if you can.
Moment.
There's one of many,
one of
many preachy moments. So let me see, with the book channels, how much of that is rain, and it's really interesting what they, yeah. Sorry.
Absolutely.
So
moving on to other news, because we said there was a lot of really weird news this week. DC Comics announced something very, very odd and very, very bizarre, and I'm very, very disappointed in them. DC Comics announced this week that on their, I believe it's their DC Universe Online or DC Unlimited app or whatever, whatever their digital version of Marvel Unlimited is, they will now be selling NFTs, which we all know are very, very bad for a multitude of reasons, which we won't get into. There's tons of articles that you can read, but
I will go into it really quickly because I will be very, very preachy for all of like, time me 30 seconds. Okay, so the reason why NFTs are kind of bad is because the same way that digital cryptocurrency gets mined is that they use a lot of computer power for a lot of these like things like Bitcoin and all of those other digital currencies, because they use so much computer power stuffs, they actually end up using more power than some small countries for digital currency. And I think that digital currency, even though it's very appealing, especially to people like us that are in the 99%, it's only going to widen this wealth gap that we have. So there's my 30 seconds of being preachy.
It's a 30-second rant.
I think I was like 40 seconds, so I'm sorry.
40 seconds. But just to kind of, you know, simplify it, what the fuck, DC? Yeah. What the actual fuck?
Yeah.
It's just, it's bad. It's weird. I saw it. I texted it to you, and I was like, what in the hell? And also, Ghost Rider, good for you. Proud of you, buddy.
That's definitely environmentally I'm just kidding. I get it. I have literally been where I'm like, I'm going to drive 50 miles to my local comic book shop, and it's not really local, but hey. For anyone who doesn't know what NFTs are, they're basically like a digital kind of like thing that you own, but it's a unique. You
don't really own it. It's
you don't really. Yeah, the way that like digital things work is that like if you buy a digital copy of a comic book, you don't really own it. You just own the rights to kind of like read it, because you can't be like, hey, Mars, I bought this digital comic book. Here it is for you. So you can't really like give someone. There's like so that it kind of has like its own serial number thing. So you can't really give it to people, but it's like, anyways.
I just think it's funny because I thought we were past NFTs. I really thought that NFTs were going to be this really weird passing phase, and it was just something else to check off of our pandemic bingo. But for some reason, DC Comics thinks that it's still okay to bring it up months later.
Yeah. I don't think that the majority, though, here's the thing. Here's the way that I feel about Bitcoin. I get that it can be, or, you know, digital currencies like that. I definitely can understand that for people who are like into that, type of like economics. It seems appealing, whatever, if that's your hustle. But I don't think that like Bitcoin and digital currencies will ever be a thing until my mom starts paying her bills with digital currency, right? Like, unless the regular person, the regular average person is like using and invested in digital currency, it doesn't actually feel like a real thing to me. So I think that until normal people are using it, I don't necessarily see the appeal to it just yet. But
Yeah.
I could also be one of those people that are like, the internet's just a fad. It's going to go away any day now.
But then we would be out of a job. So.
But then I'd be out of the job, even though you got to spend money to make money, I guess. What's next on the plate for news? Because we got a lot of
next
news.
on the plate for news is not really news, but we think it's kind of hilarious. So New York Comic Con is in the next couple weeks. Maybe it's next week. I don't know. I don't keep track of things, but people have been posting pictures of their New York City Comic Con passes, and I thought it was very interesting that the passes feature art from our favorite comic book of the year, Cult of Dracula from Source Point Press. If you're new to the channel, we actually really, really hated Cold Dracula, and it's just a long running joke. I just thought it'd be really funny. I said that me and Jen should buy passes, or if you are going to NYCC and would like to donate your passes, post, show, of course, we will hang them up prominently in our backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because it would be funny as hell to, it blows my mind. And we were talking about this a little bit backstage, because Source Point Press isn't a big publisher. If anything, I kind of put them underneath of like Mad Cave Studios in terms of popularity and all that other stuff. But it made me wonder, because those passes, everybody's going to see them, comic readers and non-comic readers alike. How much money does a company have to pay in order to be featured on the New York City Comic Con passes? Because it's not like it's a smaller convention. We're talking about NYCC, the second biggest convention in the country. And not only that, but it's Source Point Press books on all of the passes. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, you name it. Their books are featured on the passes.
And hear me out. Whatever, if someone like knows that number, like however much money like a publisher has to spend in order to get on like the pass to do that, or maybe the NYCC just decides that cover was fire. I'm not gonna lie, the covers for Cult of Dracula were beautiful, but the book was not there. Hear me out. Hashtag hear me out.
Hashtag.
Whatever money that they did spend for sponsorship or to pay to get that cover on the book, they should have spent on editing that damn book, because that book was, I could see that it was an interesting idea.
Jen is coming for blood.
I am. So like the book itself was interesting. The fire covers were incredible. I have a limit with the dumb bitch money and wasn't going to even buy issue number 2 for those cool covers, but I wish that they would have spent time and care with the actual book, because the book was not very good. It suffered, I think, from a lack of maybe editing, maybe like this was the creator's first book. That's what it felt like to me.
It very well. So that's insane. I didn't mean for us to get on this big rant. I just thought it was funny. But Jen chooses violence all the time. So Cult of Dracula NYCC passes. Anybody got them? Anybody want to send them to us? We will gladly take them as offerings.
Yeah.
So we only have 2 more things that I want to touch on.
And then we'll get to comics.
We'll finally get into, I mean, it's all comics. It's all comics. Yeah. The points are made up and everything doesn't matter. So we have a update on the Jared Lujan Action Lab Free Crash and Troy. Not propaganda, but just fiasco that's been going on. Campaign. So TLDR, if you haven't been watching the show, we covered a couple weeks ago that our pal Jared Lujan, who we absolutely love from Dryfoot, which was published by Mad Cave last year, he had started basically a Twitter campaign of hashtag Free Crash and Troy, which was a creator-owned book that he was going to be publishing alongside his artist cohort, whose name I can never fucking remember, and I always feel terrible, but just know that we love you equally.
Yes.
So Jared Lujan was basically talking about how Action Labs, promised to publish his book, basically, did absolutely no advertising for the book. slated a release date, had done pre-orders, you know, everything, and then kind of ghosted Jared Lujan and company, and it was just fucked up.
Gave like a hustle and a runaround, and was basically like, yeah, the books are printed, they're sitting in a diamond warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, so they're sitting in a diamond warehouse somewhere, but we're not going to tell you what we're going to do with them. We're not going to tell you if we're going to release them. We are just kind of going to hold them hostage. And it was really weird. I finished up your thought. You can continue.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So basically, I don't know if you probably mentioned this, but he's been on this like Twitter campaign to be like, hey, get me my books back. I want to buy the rights for this back from you. And they gave
even
him,
just break the contract.
Yep, or even just break the contract. And I think the dollar amount was somewhere around $3,000 that he was trying to, that would be the money that he'd be able to buy the rights. It doesn't sound like he was able to negotiate that, but then what happened?
All of a sudden this week, Jared Lujan tweeted some photos that there were like 10 diamond boxes dropped off on his doorstep over the course of 2 days. That's how many boxes were dropped off. And we're talking diamond. If you've ever worked in a comic book shop, diamond boxes, they're not light. They're pretty heavy. They're filled with thousands of books. And they were just dropped off. No word from a publisher, no nothing. And Jared Lujan is just kind of like, I have the books. Now, what the fuck am I supposed to do with them?
And when shops had already pre-ordered these books.
Shops have already pre-ordered the books. It just sounds like I hate to say this, but I'm just going to do it. We're choosing violence. It sounds like the pussiest move from fucking Action Lab Comics that I have ever heard. It sounds like it got traction on Twitter. You had all of these creators and big name creators that were coming in support for this. And Action Labs realized what they did was wrong. And rather than offer an apology or some sort of, you know, agreement, they were just like, all right, here you go. They did the ding dong dish. They dropped them off and they ran away. It's exactly what happened. So now Jared Lujan is kind of stuck with all of these books, and we were discussing backstage, how is this going to happen? You know, is Jared Lujan now going to be responsible for getting these books to all of these publishers that pre-ordered them, or not to publishers, to comic shops that pre-ordered them? Are comic shops going to be able to get a refund from Diamond because they've already paid the money and have nothing there and probably aren't going to get these books? It's sad, and it makes me sad because Jared Lujan is probably one of the most pure creators out there right now. He hustles like nobody's business, like absolutely hustles for his publishers and for his books, and it's fantastic, and it's what I aspire to be as a comic creator.
I would 100% say that if anyone wanted like a lesson in how to like hand sell your books, 100% like see what Jared Lujan has done, because like I know that he reached out to me and he's like, hey, do you want to like do a copy of get a copy of Dryfoot and read it? And like after reading it, ended up picking up every single issue, ended up picking up
one of the greatest trade of the year.
And I honestly don't think that I would be reading Mad Cave books if it wasn't for Jared Lujan reaching out about Dryfoot, because then I was able to pick up Terminal Punks and ended up like really, really liking a lot of these stories. So once again, like if you're a creator and I think that you want to see how to publish your book well and to make connections in the community, Jared Lujan is doing it for sure.
100%. 100%. Yeah. It's just really sad, and we only hope the best for Jared Lujan, and we hope that, you know, things with Crush and Troy can continue, if not with Action Lab Comics and elsewhere, because the man really is just a brilliant creator and has some really great stories to offer and to tell for the comics industry.
Yep. So I think that leaves us with one more piece of news. Is that?
It's not necessarily news. It's more so that a Perfect Handsome Boy and his sequel movie dropped this weekend, and that is Venom. That's why I'm wearing the Venom shirt. Despite it being 80 degrees, I am wearing the Venom shirt. Venom 2 came out. Jen, I know you have not had a chance to see Venom 2 yet. I saw Venom 2 opening night, so I will kind of leave it very vague, very, very non-spoilery. But I fucking love this movie. Listen, I am obsessed. I loved the first one when it came out. Because it was just dorky and funny, and I loved the chemistry between Eddie Brock and between Venom. And I feel like the problem with the first movie was it tried to play both sides, whether it was a buddy cop comedy or whether it was this like serious, dark corporation mystery thriller, you know, action movie.
Yeah.
I can say for sure that the second movie leans all the way into the buddy cop funness. There's a lot of really great moments between Eddie and Venom. I personally think that it was just funny as hell. I got really excited because Venom, one of the bits of the movie is Venom keeps calling himself the Lethal Protector through the whole movie, which, you know, I've never read a Venom comic, but I know Lethal Protector is probably one of the biggest Venom arcs that are out there. Not only that, but I think that Woody Harrelson honestly was meant to play Carnage and play Cletus Cassidy.
Yeah.
He would come onto the screen and I would immediately get the heebie-jeebies. And it freaky, and I loved it. Not only that, but it had the biggest mid-credit end credit scene that I think that we have ever gotten from a movie. So if you have a chance to see Venom this weekend, I definitely recommend seeing it before things get spoiled, because I can tell you right now, it is going to be on the internet fast. You will not regret it. Have fun. That's all. That's my Venom rant.
So let me go ahead and ask you this with Venom, because like I said, I haven't seen it. I don't have plans to necessarily see it in theaters. Is there a way to see it on streaming?
There is
yet?
not, unfortunately.
Okay.
Right now, this is one of the first movies. It's like Shang-Chi, where it's theater only. But
so maybe I'll go ahead and try to see it. But let me go ahead and ask you this, and I don't necessarily want to spoil. I don't want to spoil like the maybe like end credit scene. Do you feel like they're setting up for a Venom 3? Or do you feel like immersion into Marvel? I feel like just by the look on your face, you're saying yes.
I can't say. I can't
so
say.
That's a yes. Sorry.
I cannot say. All I know is that it is insane. Our theater erupted into applause. Just know that it is going to have a huge impact on things to come. So definitely go and see it.
Okay. So maybe I'll go and see it later today.
Also,
excellent.
Chat, please drop your Venom Carnage recommendations, because as I stated, I have never read Venom and or Carnage in my life, and I kind of want to see these two fight more. So if you could just drop off some recs down below, that would be greatly appreciated.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a recommendation right now, and I'm going to recommend that even though I think Final Order Cutoff already ended, Rom V and Al Ewing are taking over for Venom, and I think that's coming out later this month, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe this upcoming week. So Rom V is one of my favorite writers. I 100% think that everyone should be reading everything that Rom V does. So please. I've never been a big fan of Venom. I did read this King in Black shit that happened this last year, but I'm actually really, really excited for Rom V to take over. And it sounds like, because everyone was like, well, how are they going to be writing Venom together? Apparently Al Ewing is going to be writing Daddy Venom, and Rom V is going to be writing Baby Venom. So Eddie Brock and Dylan Brock. So Eddie Brock is going to be written by Al Ewing. Dylan Brock is going to be written by Rom V. So never wanted to read a Venom book before, and now I'm going to be a Venom stan, because I love Rom V, and I like Al Ewing a lot. So we've got comics.
We do. 42 minutes later, we have comics.
It only took us 42 minutes, folks. So I know that I think some of these may be different covers, and maybe books from last week, but
I have a tiny baby stack. It's a little baby stack.
Healthy stack right here. What are some of the books, man? Now, out of all those books that I just showed, I think half of them I haven't read, so we'll play this game again today. What are the books that Jennifer didn't read? Want to start off with Marvel? Want to start off with DC? Chat, what do you want us to start off with? Indies, Marvel, DC, tell us.
So what books did you pick up that you didn't read?
Oh, you know what? Let's go there. Okay.
Let's go there.
Some of these books are probably books that you have read, but DC, Son of Kal-El #2, didn't read. I didn't read Harley Quinn, Fear State. Didn't read Batman Reptilian. I don't think I read any DC books yet this week. So I did also pick up Firefly River Run, and I'll be very honest, I'm one of those nerds that I have never really gotten into Firefly. I know of it, but it's written by David Boer, so that was the only reason why I picked that up. Also, I didn't actually read Sword, and I got 2 covers for that, even though I heard that there is some really good Storm goodness in there.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't read Mr. Miracle yet. Didn't read Adventure Man yet. I didn't read Alice in Leatherland. I feel like this book is late. I feel like that was a different Didn't read Amazing Fantasy yet. Have not read Darkhawk yet. Out of Body, I think, was last week. Department of Truth, I did not read.
Oh, that's shocking.
Yeah. And then Corset. The Corset or Corset by Scout Comics. Didn't read those, but I got the rest. So
okay. So we're being told indie.
let's do indie.
We're being told indie. So
Okay.
I think we should start with violence, because there is one big indie title that came out this week that I feel like we need to have a discussion about. And that is, if I can find it here in my stack, that is The Ending of Die.
This book,
I'm very glad to see that you read it, by the way. That makes me very happy, and thank you.
You're welcome. This book felt, honestly, what I think happened is that Kieran Gillen had plans for this book to be much longer, and or maybe like did the first volume and was like, oh, like this one's really successful. It's a really good idea. Let's go ahead and go further. And then maybe around issue like 12 or 13 was like, wait, what if I stopped at issue 20 for like a D20 and went off on a wild tangent, and then all of a sudden was like, I need to stop this book. The first volume of this series was incredible and is one of my absolute favorite. This book right here was the end of the series, and I am left so confused. I feel like nothing got solved. I don't even really remember the latter half of the series. Am I alone?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay,
I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Go.
So were you say that you thought that Die was supposed to be much bigger than what it was? I actually think it's the complete opposite. I think it's the same. This Die number 20, The End of Die, confirms my theory, and that theory is that Kieran Gillen does not know how to write endings. I've said it before on this channel. We look at titles that he's done, like Wicked and Divine. We look at Young Avengers. We look at Darth Vader. Every single book that I've read by him, I get really, really into that first trade, that first arc. I've said it before that I think that Die Volume 1 is probably one of the best indie things that I have ever read. I constantly push into the hands of everybody that I meet. I also think the same way about his Darth Vader Volume 1, where I think it's one of the best Darth Vader stories that we've gotten.
Yep.
And yet you
especially
continue to read it because of Dr. Aphra, but then you continue to read it and it just kind of falls flat. So my theory, unless it's being debunked, I don't think it can be, though, because I've got several things that prove it. Kieran Gillen does not know how to write endings. Kieran Gillen, if you don't have write endings, that's okay. Just stop. Just make it easy. Little baby bits. Die 20, I read this book at work. It was a slow day. And I screamed in the middle of my office because there are some things that are revealed, some things that are said where I'm just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
So first off, I'm just gonna put a disclaimer here. I'm spoiling all of Die
Spoilers.
number 20, because I feel like I can't talk about this book without spoiling it. So if you have not read Die number 20, this is your opportunity now to do a backflip away from your computer.
Just mute
or do backflip and do both. It's fine. Whatever you want to do. So where do I even start? I guess I'll kind of just go in order. No, I won't go in order. So I'm just gonna fucking talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that we meet this D20 man. That's all I'm gonna call him, is the D20 man. Mm-hmm. He's, I guess, the god of Die. And he basically I fucking hate this. So The End of Die has the same plot of Harry Potter and the Crimes of Grindelwald, or whatever the fuck that movie's called. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't watch it. It has the same plot, guys. Hear me out. Our big, scary god D20 man reveals the fact that he basically started World War I to give J.R. Tolkien the motivation he would need to fucking write Lord of the Rings, so that way the world of Die could kind of take shape. And I just have to look at Kieran Gillen right in his face and go, what the fuck? Where do you started World War I so J.R. Tolkien could write? That has to just be the most insane fucking thing that I have ever fucking heard of in my life.
And like the fact that it's like, I mean, we did kind of see like, because we see J.R.R. Tolkien earlier in the series. But I think that the fact that it was like, was that his like, is am I using the term right? The Deus Ex Machina, like the plot point, is that how
Yeah.
he wanted to just end this book? But the fact that it was used and revealed at the end of this book just blows my mind. Like,
it
but
doesn't
not in
make
a
any
good way.
sense. It makes no sense. It made me extremely angry. It made me yell out in pain because I'm just like, that's not okay. I don't think, I think it's very just ill-fitting and ill-timed and whatever. I
Yeah.
hated it. Not only that, but we see the death of one of our party members.
Yeah.
We see the death of Chuck, which makes me sad because I love Chuck.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely no remorse for him from any of his friends and compatriots.
Yeah.
We also, it reminded me that Chuck was announced in the second book that he has some type of terminal cancer and that he is dying.
Yeah.
However, that's never brought up again. It's never even revealed to our companions that he is dying from this disease. And so that's probably why he sacrificed himself. And it just was like, this was a book where in the beginning it was very emotional. You had these friends that had very close ties to one another. They went through hell together and they've been through so much together. And yet we get to the end of it and they all kind of just separate even after we get back to die. And that's my third biggest gripe with this book is the ending and how it kind of, spoiler alert, the people, I guess they're grown adults now, but our players escape back into the world of the living. And this is where I think that, actually, it's not where I think, it's where I know that Kieran Gillian did not plan this ending. Because while I think part of it is kind of cool, and I also think it's very hand-fisted. So when our players are dropped back into the normal world, they immediately go to a gas station and go to get help, which, okay, makes sense. But then they make this big deal that they are yelled at because they don't have masks. And we see our characters wearing masks. And you can tell that they're dropped into the pandemic in 2020. And I'm just like...
Yeah, because it's like Midlands in 2020. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So we know that, part of me likes the idea that you're dropped back into a world that you think is going to be familiar, but it has changed so much, but it wasn't executed in the right way. If anything, it was very, I don't want to say,
like, I don't
want to say it gave me PTSD, but it made me feel very uncomfortable that I was living back through the early stages of the pandemic again. So thank you, Kieran Gillian.
Especially after they've just gone through all of this. And the ending was very, like, I don't even want to say bittersweet. It was very
rushed.
Yeah.
It was very rushed. It was very annoying. I got no resolution from any of my characters. Chuck, we see, rises up from the dead and becomes what are they called? The fucking zombie type people.
Yeah.
He becomes one of those and then that's it. He goes on another quest. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And it just makes me sad because Die is such a rich universe. There's so many layers there, so many things that you can play with. This is one of those few stories that I feel like could get a million spinoffs, and it would be okay because they could be very interesting.
Which I would like to see. But I do know that apparently now the team is going to be working on an RPG for it. I know that's been like teased, and there have been some like player, like homemade, like homebrew type things for Die. But I do think that they're officially going to be coming out with a Die board game or like role playing game,
which I think would be cool, and I think we should play on the show. Wink, wink.
100%. Let's do it.
But I knew I was going to be disappointed by the end of this book. There was absolutely no way that this book could be redeemed in one final issue, especially a final issue that was not oversized.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how disappointed I could be because I love this book. I love the universe. I love the characters and the originality. And there was no resolution for anything. No resolution with Ash and their daughter. No resolution for Izzy and the Vampire King. Nothing. No. Absolutely nothing. What happened to H.G. Wells? Like, he just rode it on a bicycle and then he rode off again. Like, I don't know. I will get the trade when it comes out because I'm a sucker for punishment.
Yeah.
And I will read it through in its entirety. Whether that's going to make it better or worse, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sucked. That really sucked.
It was not a fun time, folks.
Not fun.
But at least, I feel like at least we got that out of the way.
It was rough.
Because the rest of the books weren't bad, I felt like.
I disagree.
Okay, what indie books are we talking about next?
Oh, I'm not talking about indie books we're talking I won't talk about this. I'll just briefly mention it. My shop finally got in Cinnamon #2,
Okay.
which came out a couple weeks ago. I really, really liked it. Again, this book is just a lot of fun. The best and only good thing Behemoth has created.
Yeah.
I'm not picking this one up. Please pick it up. It's just a fun little cat getting into trouble.
Issue number 3 came out already, right?
I don't know because my shop has been kind of weird with ordering them for me, so I have no clue. No clue.
I thought that it did, but that could just be me imagining things. But I agree. Cinnamon, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night was really good, but that was a remake, so it doesn't really count.
The only other indie book I have, because everything was very big too heavy this week. The only other indie book that I have is Human Remains. From Volt Comics. I'm very conflicted with how I feel about this book.
Ooh, see, I really like this book. Basically, for those of you who didn't read Human Remains, is that it's about like an alien invasion. I think that it's kind of muddy on whether it is or isn't an alien invasion.
Aliens, supernatural. This book honestly feels like Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Gives me Quiet Place vibes.
It reminds me, I'm surprised that this isn't written by Cullen Bunn, but it's actually written by Peter Milligan. I really enjoyed it. It's basically like there's this alien supernatural invasion, and they attack, like in the same way that A Quiet Place, I guess they hear sound and they attack. They're drawn to really strong emotions, and so the main cast is a newlywed couple. And they love each other a lot or have very strong feelings. And so they're conflicted on whether or not if the aliens attack or the supernatural stuff attacks really strong emotions, how do they love each other? I liked it.
I did not expect this premise when we were reading it, and this book does open up very strongly because it tells us it opens up right away, and the first page, let me see if I can grab it. The first page alone, I was just like, okay, I'm here for this, because I really didn't know anything about this book. I was just like, oh, it's a Volt title, I have to pick it up. So the first page, we get this really cool sign, and it says, government message: all expressions of fear, anger, love, lust, and humor are forbidden in public places. Remember, emotions cost lives. When you open your book up like that, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's see what we're doing. This is interesting. And then we see within the first couple pages our first example of what exactly happens when you break those rules. And I think that the pacing, the tone of this book, it works perfectly. The things that I didn't like are very, very, what's the word that I'm looking for? The way that you didn't like Pyroqueen, which was also written by Peter Milligan, is the reason why I didn't like this book. Maybe because I had that third eye open. Because we do get this very weird scene. Actually, we get two very weird scenes where, it's a woman who is stuck with her abuser, and she's called a whore, and obviously she can't leave because if she leaves, she'll die. Same with another woman who is dealing with, she is, I guess, a drunk because she is tired, and her husband is just like, okay, well, fuck you then. It was in those 2 pages that I felt really, really uncomfortable. And then also too, Peter Milligan, I was like halfway through it, and I'm like, no weird sex shit. And then we turn the page and there's weird sex shit. And I'm like, okay, that's how you know it is a Peter Milligan book. Because if there's weird sex shit, it is a Peter Milligan book.
Like the couple is found having sex in a field.
In a cornfield.
Which, I mean, like, I'm not here to cornfield sex shame you, but maybe a little bit I am.
Make sure you have bug spray, a little net, it's gotta be uncomfortable.
Yeah. What would, for people who have sex in cornfields, like, what would be your safe word in that instance? Like popcorn?
Popcorn.
What would be Orville Redenbacher.
Or, that's a good one. But I really do like the premise of this. I personally was not a fan of the way that this book ended because, okay, that's what I kind of expected. I needed something more to drag me in. So personally, I'm going to wait for a trade on this one. Okay. But it's a lot better than some of the Volt titles that we've seen in recent weeks with like Last Book We'll Ever Read and Dead Box. So if you are curious about Human Remains, I definitely suggest picking it up.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. One of the other books that I got, I don't think that I saw it there because it's pretty hard to miss. But 10 Years to Death. It's one of the like big,
The
oversized
oversized
books.
ones.
And I really enjoyed this. I've been liking the Aftershock doing the like oversized one shot. And it's basically, it starts off with a like young boy, and his uncle comes home from work, and his uncle comes home from work and is basically like, get me a beer. I had a rough day at work. Let me tell you about it. He works as a prison guard, and there is this creepy ass dude that works with him who I don't want to spoil it, but basically he ends up like having beef with one of the people who is in prison, one of the prisoners. And so this creepy ass guard and this prisoner have beef, and it's kind of a wild ride. It's kind of like an urban legend. It feels like an urban legend, and it's all told from the point of view of the younger kid recalling what his uncle is telling him. So it was pretty gosh darn interesting. I don't want to give too much away.
Who is that by?
This is done by Aftershock, but Aaron Douglas and Cliff Richards, it looks like is the creative team, along with Guy Major and Dave Sharp.
Interesting.
And really quick, I do want to bring up another Aftershock title that came out this week. Party and Pray came out from Steve Orlando and then Steve Fox. This was described to me as like a queer horror story, where an older gay man goes out to a nightclub. He doesn't really get hit on, anything like that. And then who's the prey in this situation? Kind of, not necessarily spoiler alert because it happens pretty early on, but the older gay man takes a younger gay man home and is basically like, I'm not, your generation of queer kids, you get to be open and you get to be who you are. I'm older. I didn't get that. Like, I never got to see someone lust after my body. Well, as it turns out, he has ulterior motives, and it's pretty interesting. I really, really enjoyed this book a lot, but I need to know why, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this, where for a book this tiny, I don't know if you can really see how tiny it is, maybe compared to the Autumnal, I don't know if you can see the difference in size.
Yep.
So we've got, so tell me why I paid $19.99 for this book, and I paid $17.99 for this book. It's like a third of the size.
Scam.
And that just feels, this book could have easily been one of the oversized one shots, and it wasn't, and I'm really confused. It was a really good story, but I paid 18 whole ass dollars, and it should have been a one shot. I keep wanting to say this is a really, really, really good book. Maybe wait for it to be on sale. Sorry, I really love Steve Orlando, and it hurts saying that a little bit.
But Steve Orlando didn't make that decision either.
You know what? You're right. That is true. That is true. So anyways, this book came out this week. That book came out this week, and it was, both were good, but I should have only paid $7.99 for that other book.
Was that all that you had for indies, or did you have other indies?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
What you got?
Okay. So Something is Killing the Children, issue number 20 came out. And it's really, really interesting to me that when I think about another title, issue 20 came out this week, series ended, and I wanted that series to end a long time ago. This one I feel like is just picking back up again, and it's still just a consistent, really good title. For those of you who don't know, Something is Killing the Children. There's a monster out there that is killing children, is going into a small town. Erica Slaughter is part of this order. kills the monsters that are killing children. In the past couple of issues, we've seen this arc where we're seeing her and her backstory. In this one, she gets like initiated, and she, spoiler alert, like wins her initiation, passes the test. But it's really good. There's some really emotional moments. So we get to see Erica Slaughter as a young girl kind of like going through it. It was pretty interesting. I also picked up Crossover, issue number 8. This one picks up after the issue number 7 that was done by Chip Zdarsky. So it goes back to Donny Cates. You can clearly tell that the success of Chip Zdarsky's issue has gotten to Donny Cates. And I think Donny Cates is a little bit afraid of what Chip Zdarsky did, because in it, this book is basically like, this is how the series should have ended, and it was this. Okay, I guess, since it's really popular now, we're going to go further with it. So once again, Donny Cates, I just need you to tell me that Solid Blood 17 is a crossover. That's it. 2 more. Did you have anything else?
Nothing for indie.
Nothing. Okay. Echolands, issue number 2, really good. It goes more into this like steampunk, dystopian, cyberpunk Red Riding Hood, and it's a lot of fun. I really like it. Last one, I don't know if this came out last week. I thought it was supposed to come out last week, but it was on the shelves this week. Duplicate issue number 3, written by Carla Nappi, basically about this may seem really familiar, but a company can repossess if you've had an organ transplant, and there's this like disease that happens, and a company can come and repossess if you fall behind on your payments for this organ transplant. It's really good. This one gets really emotional. I'm really loving what Carla Nappi is doing. So please, if you haven't already, pick up Duplicate by Second Sight Publishing. Okay. And hello, I feel like I've missed the chat, but Bueller is in the chat. Hello.
Howdy.
How's it going, friend? And just so everyone knows, I'll share it on my page, but I was hanging out with Bueller, and the show should come out tomorrow morning on Monday on his channel for comics and coffee.
Very exciting.
Okay. Very exciting. Okay. That was all the indie books. I actually only have like 1 Marvel title that I read.
What? I have 2.
I've got 4 covers of 1.
I have 2.
Okay.
Should we talk Marvel, or should we save that towards the end? Because I know what book you want to talk about.
Yeah. I only have. Did you go through DC already?
No, I have 3 DC titles sitting right here.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go right off the bat with the book that you did not read, because it was probably one of my favorite things this week.
Mm-hmm.
Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 3.
Yeah.
Listen, Tom Taylor is continuing to take shots at our country, and I just have to say thank you, because this issue is probably one of the most important Superman issues that we have ever seen, period. So again, if you have not been reading this book, please read it. It's probably the best Superman thing I've ever read in my entire life. It's really great. So we have John Kent, who is basically taking on the role of Superman because his father has to go out into the universe and basically take out, whatever. And he needs to remain here and be Superman. So in doing so, within the past 3 issues, it's really been John questioning what it means to be Superman, what it is that they should be doing with all of these powers and everything that's going on. With last issue, we saw that John Kent rescued a group of refugees that were fleeing their own country. This issue, we see that, America is basically trying to send those refugees back to their own country, which sounds really familiar with current events going on.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, please look up this, the current administration deporting a whole bunch of Haitian immigrants. So
it's very upsetting. Yeah. Not only that, but we see protests going on that are very reminiscent of events that happened last year, where people are protesting, the rights and lives of human people, and the police getting very, very violent with them. So in this issue, we see John Kent join those supporters, and it's like, listen, I'm the one that saved those people. for good reason. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to support these people because I believe that this is what is right. And the police officer basically is like, well, if, you know, they want to continue to do this, we're going to arrest them. And Jonathan Kent is like, well, if you're going to arrest these people, then you are going to have to arrest me too. And the police officer is like, I can't. I know who you are. And he's like, I don't care who I am. I'm standing with these people. I would like to be arrested, officer. And we have this really great conversation between Superman and John, because of course he goes to pick up Superman from jail, or he goes to pick up his son from jail. And it's this really intimate conversation. And we have this whole conversation from John that, you know, Superman was a refugee, you know, so of course I'm going to stand with this. And it gets really emotional. And I will say this is one of those books that gets very political, and I think it's perfect and I love it. And I feel like everybody should be reading it. I love when comics get like this. And I agree. You know, it's just, this is a really, really great book. And there's this really cute moment where, you know, John has sort of got a new friend, and he takes his friend home for dinner and is like, I want you to be introduced to, you know, my dad and my mom. And, you know, Superman even flies him home. And it's not when he meets Superman that his friend freaks out. It's when he meets Lois Lane that he's like, you're Lois Lane. Do you have any idea what you've done? He's like, I have a poster of you on my wall. And it's just really cute. And I really love these personal moments that happen in this book. I think that if you are liking Nightwing right now, it's honestly a no-brainer to pick up this book, because a lot of the same themes tend to carry through both books.
Okay. That it, you know, I forget who, because I do another show on Friday nights, and it was either Greg, Bearded Comic Bro, or Ryan, who said something like, this is going to be the Superman book that they recommend for people. You know, when we think about like those classic, I think either Superman for All Seasons or All-Star Superman. I even think Superman Red Sun, like those are normally the Superman books that I recommend to people. I think that this will definitely be one of those like classic Superman stories for sure.
I agree 100%. It definitely will be. Robin #6 came out. I won't go too much into detail because, I mean, it's just the arc is continuing, the fight's continuing. It's still really, really great, and I really like this. I'm really thankful that this title has not been affected by Fear State, and it's kind of doing its own thing. And I'm like, thank God. I really, really needed that. So it's great. I really like this title. If you're not picking up Robin, definitely pick it up in trade, because it's just a really, really fun book. The other book that I picked up from DC is Deathstroke Inc. And
I think I pre-ordered that, but for some reason it didn't end up in my pile. So I know that you had some feelings. You wanted some certain things to happen in that book. Did they?
No, they did not. They did not. They have absolutely no chemistry together. I'm like, what the hell? Just let them fuck, okay? If you weren't here for last week, I was on a rant that I just want to see. Listen, if you're going to make Deathstroke and Black Canary team up, let them fuck, okay? She's already fucked Ra's al Ghul. Why not let her add another big baddie to her, you know, belt or resume? This book was honestly just stupid. It wasn't fun. The art was ugly as hell. I hate to say that. Listen, art is subjective, but I feel like the artwork in this book is very big two superhero corporate engineered.
Okay.
So it's like,
do you think it was written? Do you think that it was actually like written and drawn by the creators, or do you think that it was just like an algorithm pumping that out?
It does. It feels like it was an algorithm. It was not fun.
There was a machine that was just fed a whole bunch of of those like basic generic books. And it was like, okay, let's just try to pump some shit out.
It wasn't fun. And you know what? I like the idea of, I love the concept behind this book. I love the idea that Deathstroke gets his own teams up with Black Canary. They possibly fuck later on. You know, we even have Deathstroke be like, hey, why are you here? You know, shouldn't you be back with Green Arrow? And I'm like, oh, he doing it. He testing the waters. And then I just kind of, you don't get anything more than that. And I'm like, my dude, just do the thing. Let them boink. And
hear me out.
Hashtag hear me out. Let them boink.
Hear me out. You can't blow your load on the entire first issue.
I'm not saying.
but they need to have a character arc. They need to have like the cute little moment where it's like they need to be enemies, or they need to be like at each other's throats, so then they can build up to the romance, and then they can build up to the boinking. There needs to be foreplay,
And
basically is what I'm saying.
I get that, but you would at least see like a little sprinkling in this issue, and we didn't get any sprinkling at all. And I'm just sad, and it makes me sad because this is written by Joshua Williamson, who's also doing the Robin title right now, which I've really been enjoying. This is just boring. It feels unnecessary. Why do we need this? And like, I listen, I'm not going to read this anymore. However, chat, hear me out. Okay, I need y'all to come through for me. If you are continuing to pick up Deathstroke and you are reading it month to month or whatever it is, and they fuck, if they even flirt, if they anything,
look at each other.
Look at each other. DM me. I need the pictures. I need the issue. Just come through for your girl. Because listen, if not, listen, I haven't written fan fiction since I was very young. I might have to write some fan fiction because y'all planted the seed. Y'all gave me the what the fuck. I was like, maybe this will work. Y'all planted the seed, and now I need to see it grow. So give it to me, basically.
Yeah.
Literally.
Well, you know that I'm here to write the Batman fan fiction, the Batman Year 69. So I'm going to do Batman Year 69. I'm also going to do Batman Year 18, Barely Legal. And there's going to be a ton of pearl necklaces everywhere, just everywhere. So
ton of pearl necklaces. So that's it for DC.
That's
now
it for DC.
Marvel, you said you only had one book that you picked up?
Okay, so I said that I had 4 covers. I actually have 5.
Okay, well, before you do that, because I think that we need to save that particular title for the last title, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
What other Marvel book did you get?
You didn't pick up Darkhold Alpha?
Oh, I did. I got that cover. I haven't read it yet.
I got issues with this book. It's not fun. It's not fun. Listen, that cover's gorgeous. Like, thank you. I appreciate you. Listen, I'm on a Scarlet Witch bender. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. If you were on my Instagram, you saw last Sunday I bought a whole Scarlet Witch costume, which I'm very excited for. I will be wearing the crown on stream at some point whenever it shows up, and I'll probably wear it for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Yes.
Listen, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I don't know what the Darkhold is. It's some mystical, magical book that has all the evil. Yeah. Whatever. I get that. It's cool. So this book is Dr. Doom and Scarlet Witch going against each other, right? And kind of arguing. And the problem I have with this book, the same problem I have with this book. Where's the boinking? Okay. Okay. I understand that they're not going to boink because at this point they're exes. But like, listen. Yeah. Y'all could give me a little bit of sexual tension here. Like,
there should be tension between them for sure.
Dr. Doom in this book is just a dick to Wanda and belittles her. And I do not like that because I feel like it takes everything that we witnessed in Children's Crusade. And how much he loved her and how much he supported her. And it basically shits all over it. And he basically is like, yeah, I just used you and manipulated you. And I'm like, yeah, come on, I was rooting for you. And you're and this is from Steve Orlando of all people. Like, you're gonna discredit their love, Steve. I don't appreciate that. I don't like that. Basically they fight, they get angry, Wanda gets angry, she forms her own little Avengers, which is really fucking bizarre because it's like the Wasp and Black Bolt and Iron Man and Spider-Man and Blade. And I'm like, y'all literally picked the most random people.
I think it's because everyone else is busy. Everyone else is busy right now. So they had to do the like kind of like B.5 characters.
And y'all picked the most random people. And like, this is apparently, I guess, a mini event. And there's 5 other titles that there's 6 other titles that they want me to read. I'm not reading them. If anything, okay, I got a really great Scarlet Witch cover. And that's it. That's all I need. Also, Scott, I agree. Listen, let more superheroes boink. Listen, y'all were doing some fucking freaky ass shit in the mid 2000s. Okay, with Janet, Ant-Man, and Wasp. Okay, I saw that. I would like more of that. Okay, like just the whole book of just that. It's fine. I will read it.
That'll be I'll go ahead and write fan fiction and I'll go ahead and put it up on an OnlyFans account, an OnlyFan Fictions account.
I will read it, okay? I don't know why. I really don't know. And Scott's gonna make me go on a rant. Why the hell these big two companies aren't leaning more into that? Because listen, one of my favorite X-Men books is X-Men Sex and Violence.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, it's X-Force. Sorry, X-Force Sex and Violence. Do you want to know why it's one of my favorite comics? Because they fucking show Wolverine and Domino boinking every other page. And it's tasteful. It's not even gross boinking. It's very tasteful, very sexy boinking.
Ooh.
Let more couples boink in comics. Let Green Arrow and Black Canary have boinked. Y'all saw Batman and Catwoman, they boinked in that Mitch Gerard's Tom King. That was very tasteful boinking. Give me more boinking. Give me an 80-page boink special.
Oh man, can we get that for Valentine's Day? Can we get a boinking
boink
special? Yeah. And make it like $6.99. Can it be a $6.99 special?
I'll take it.
Okay.
I want it.
Let's do it.
I want it. All right, so there's one last book we have to talk about.
There's one last book. I know you didn't like it, and
I never said that. I never said that.
No, it's not that you don't like it. It's just that you're tired of Hickman.
I never said that. I never
You
said
did.
it.
You literally put it on your Instagram. Even so, here's the thing: is that like John's Comics with Kids messaged me, and he's like, "Did you see Mars's story? She is coming for Hickman," and I'm like, "She hasn't even read Hoxpox, and she's coming for blood on Inferno and for Hickman." I have the receipts, girl.
So I picked up 2 covers this week. However, before people come for me and they're like, "Where's the Emma Frost cover?" It's already framed and hanging on the wall. Okay, that's how much I fucking love it. It's hanging on the wall above my bed. It's perfection. Okay.
You know, it's funny. That's like the only cover that I didn't get, is that I didn't get the Emma Frost cover, but I did get, of course, because I got the A cover.
How?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Dude,
I don't know.
What?
And then I also got this cover, and then I also got this beautiful
that
cover.
That one's gorgeous.
Right,
I wish I had picked up that one.
And of course, I got the Peach Momoko cover, and then this cover, of course.
All right, go ahead. Talk about. Can you do me a favor? Because I'll be honest with you. Don't know what the fuck I read. So if you could give me like a recap of what happened, I'd be really, really appreciative, because I've got a 90% feeling that all of the story was in that block of text that I refused to read. And all right, I'm going to go on a rant real quick. 20-second rant.
Only 20 seconds. I'm timing you.
I fucking hate Hickman and how he does these fucking walls of text and these little maps and these little charts. I like the maps. I like the charts. They're fun. I don't like the blocks of text. And this one had 2 pages worth of text. But more so, what I hate about the fact of these blocks of text, where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to skip over it. Hickman fucking punishes you. And it's like, you skipped past this wordy message I have to tell you? You're not going to know what's happening for the rest of the book. Fuck you. Give me money. And I hate that. Anyway, continue.
Okay. So, and I gave you an extra 8 seconds there.
I appreciate that.
So, like, part of me is like, what? Because in this book, I feel like you do need to have read Hoxpox in order to get it. Like,
yeah, you do.
So, do you know? And here there are going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't read Hoxpox, there's going to be some spoilers. So just kind of mute for a second. But I think that there are some main things that you need to know going into this. Is that Moira McTaggart is a mutant. Her mutant power is reincarnation.
Okay, and that I understood.
Okay, I don't know how that fucking works. Like, don't ask me how that works, because I don't fucking get it.
It's just a mutant. I mean, I guess that's like. I mean, that I don't question that. That actually, I'm actually surprised that, because I've heard of Moira. I know she's a huge part of Hoxpox. That I do know. She got an action figure. I'm kind of aware of Moira. I Googled her today. I Googled her the other day, learned that apparently she shows up in First Class and showed up in X-Men Last Stand. So listen, I did a little bit of research. And I don't know why that is so like, how could somebody's power be reincarnation? Yeah. And then here's me with no X-Men knowledge. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That checks out.
So maybe I thought that that's where The dissatisfaction
That's where your dissatisfaction lies. Not with Hickman's block of text. It's with Moira having reincarnation as one of her powers. Continue.
So then I think that, Moira is obviously like, we cannot let them do this. And I honestly thought that in this book, I thought that, obviously Mystique and Destiny were just going to burn everything to the ground. But it looks like they're playing a little bit of a longer game. And it looks like they're taking over the council.
Interesting. So here we go. So your dissatisfaction comes with Moira McTavish, or whatever the hell her name is.
McTaggart, yeah.
Taggart. Moira having a power of reincarnation. I learned today that Destiny, well, not today, but when I read it on Thursday or Friday, or whenever I read my books, I learned that Destiny's power is that she can apparently see the future.
Yep.
And I'm fine with that. Okay. A X-Men that sees the future. However, there's this big, and I feel like this book goes back and forth.
Pox, because you need to read Hoxpox, because Hoxpox goes into the future.
Okay, well, I feel like this book goes back and forth between future and present, which I'm okay with books doing that. However, this one was not clear. There was no now, present, no change in art style, nothing really to lead the reader.
Differentiate that.
No differentiation, and I hated that because it made me have to read it twice, which I didn't want to have to fucking do, but I did it so I could kind of understand it. Yeah. So anyway, Destiny's power is that she can see the future, and she has this long conversation with Moira where she's like, I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna keep killing you because I can find out where you are. Yep. And then Destiny makes this comment of, you can try to kill me, but I'll always know when you're coming. And I'm like, okay, that's great and all. I was like, but thinking in my head, you're dead now. So how the fuck did that happen? How did Destiny die?
So Destiny
She's
died.
Got this superpower.
So Destiny died. I mean, she died like a long time ago, but she knew that she was going to die, and I guess was kind of okay with it. I can't recall off which storyline it was, but it was oh my goodness, someone in the chat is going to have to help me out here because I'm losing my mind over it. But this is, I think, where that because the Hickman X-Men era has redone some of that.
I just here's my gripe with this. Okay, other than the fact that it's fucking Hickman and whatever.
Yeah.
Trials of Magneto right now, big arc, big thing with X-Men.
Yeah.
Jumped into that expecting to hate it, wanted to love it, expected to hate it, came out loving it. Why did I love it? Because even though I have very, very limited X-Men knowledge, I was able to jump into it. I'm like, okay, I can follow this. There's a couple things I'm a little fuzzy on, but for the most part, I'm having fun. With this, they want me to read Hoxpox. They want me to read this. They want me to read that.
If you read Hoxpox before you read Trial of Magneto, I think you would like it even more.
I'm going to break your heart right here. I think that even if I read Hoxpox, I really think that I would just hate it more, if I'm being quite honest with you.
Wow.
I remember reading the first issue of, I think I read the first issue of both when it first came out, and I hated it. And I hated it because it was way too dense. It was way too annoying. And then Hickman wants to do shit like this.
I love when Hickman does that. That's my favorite part of East of West.
Do you know what my favorite Hickman? What do we call this, chat? What do we call this? Memo? Hickman? It's called a memo.
Excuse me. It is called the Hickman dump trademark. The Hickman dump.
So I think my favorite Hickman dump is the room that confirmed that Jean Grey has interlocking doors with Cyclops and Wolverine.
And Wolverine, because they're like a cute little couple.
That's the only one I've ever liked. I really wanted to like this. I was promised that Mystique and Destiny would be burning down the world. And I got that for about 4 pages. No, I got that for about 4 panels. I do like the little ending where they're like, hey, what's good? Mm-hmm. They really did pull the American Horror Story surprise bitch, thought you seen the last of me. And that I was like,
they totally did.
I kind of like that. What's going on? And I'm a little curious to be like, okay, she's alive. So what are you planning on doing now that she's alive? Because I feel like I feel like, hear me out. I feel like this killed the plot of this book because, again, I thought the plot of Inferno was going to be Destiny and Mystique, or at least Mystique, killing everybody to get her wife back.
They're
Her
going
wife's
to
back.
I think that they're going to do that, but they're playing, even though this is a 4-issue series, I think that they're going to play the long game with it.
I don't know. Also, who the fuck? I had a Google. Actually, I didn't Google. I just asked my partner because God bless their X-Men knowledge. Who the fuck is Nimrod? I'm like, who the fuck is Nimrod? Because they're dropping Nimrod. They're dropping Destiny. I'm like, who are these characters? Please explain. I have killed Jen. It's fine.
Mars, you would know that if you had read Hoxpox. You would know exactly who Nimrod is. If you had read Hoxpox, this would make so much more sense. If you had read Hoxpox,
You guys are
Nimrod
getting some
is
ASMR
such.
right now. It's great.
This is the Jennifer X-Man splains X-Men to Mars. Mars, you need to read Hoxpox. You would know all of those questions and more would be answered if you had read Hoxpox. What do we need to do to get you to read Hoxpox? What is it? What is it? Do I need to mail you a copy of Hoxpox to your door every week to get you to read Hoxpox? What do we do to get Mars to read Hoxpox? Because I need you to read it, please.
So, fun fact. My partner's birthday is next week, right? And they're a huge X-Men fan. Oh, Jen is disconnected, so I'll just spoil it now so that she doesn't kill me. My partner's birthday is next week. Huge X-Men fan. Every time we go into a comic shop, he seems to be handling the Hoxpox big omnibus. I was like, I think I would be a good partner. I'm going to buy Hoxpox for my partner. But then I thought to myself, if I had Hoxpox sitting on our table, or his table, our table, whatever, it would kind of encourage me to read Hoxpox. And right now, I am so against reading Hoxpox that I'm like, I don't even want to attempt myself.
Can I hold up? So I have a question. So he has read Hoxpox?
He has not.
And you haven't read Hoxpox?
I have not.
And
I have read
neither
the
of
first
you...
issue of both.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Your whole ass gonna, like, I'm legitimately going to send a copy of Hoxpox. I'm gonna send you 2 whole ass copies of Hoxpox.
We only need one, if anything,
No.
but I don't even want one.
No, because here's the thing. Here's the thing is that if there's only one copy of Hoxpox between the both of you, then the excuse for you to not read it will be, well, I don't have a copy of it. He has a copy of it and he's reading it right now. So I'm gonna make sure. No.
To be
I'm
fair,
gonna make sure
he does have Marvel Unlimited, so he could just read Hoxpox whenever he wants.
Nope.
But
nope. 2 whole ass copies are going to arrive at your door.
Every time I look at Hoxpox, and I flip through it, I'm like, this just does not seem like fun. It feels like textbook reading. And again, I've said it a lot of times on this channel. I'm going to trademark it. I have goopy gobbo brain. I feel like if they animated it, or if they animated it, or if they live actioned Hoxpox, maybe I'd enjoy it. But I feel like I'm killing Jen slower and slower with every time. I'm just gonna be quiet now.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an X-Men ASMR, and I'm going to bedtime read you Hoxpox. Let's do a Hoxpox reading club, folks. Let's read Hoxpox together, and I'll explain it. If you like this voice, please like and subscribe to the channel that has become an X-Man-splaining of Hoxpox to Mars. Let's do it, folks. Let's do it.
I would actually be open to that, where we did a channel readathon.
Let's do it.
And maybe every 3 issues we got together, maybe every 2 issues. Because how many fucking issues is what am I getting myself
like
into,
12.
y'all? That's it?
I think
There's
so.
no way it's only 12.
Yeah. It's
no way.
There. It's somewhere down there.
We're gonna go to our best friend Amazon. Our best friend Amazon is gonna tell us how many issues are in it. Don't buy from Amazon, by the way, guys. Just use it as a reference tool.
Read Hoxpox.
Hold on. Let's see.
1 through 6. 1 through 6. It's 12.
Oh, do I have to read the text bubbles or the info dumps? I don't want to.
I will ASMR the Hickman dumps for you.
But here's the thing. If I read Hoxpox,
I'm going to read it right now.
If I read Hoxpox, what do we have left? What do we have left to discuss and argue about if I read a Hoxpox finally? What will there be to get me to read next?
Page 1. House of X, Powers of X. Page 2. Or maybe it's 3.
Humans of the planet Earth. While you slept, the world changed. Professor X.
I'm this dumb egghead.
Okay, can you do me a favor? Can you open up Inferno and go to like page 1, or maybe it's like the scene with our girl right there. So hold it up.
Okay, she's doing the thing. It's what we call an homage.
But this is why you need to read all of Hoxpox.
I mean, that's kind of cool, but also, Scott, I agree. QR codes, Tom Hiddleston reading it. I'll take it. That would get me to read it. I don't even like Tom. Better yet, can we swap? Do me a favor. Can we hear me out? Can we swap out Tom Hiddleston? Can we get a Henry Cavill on this? Has Henry Cavill read Hoxpox? If Henry Cavill has read Hoxpox, that would convince me to read Hoxpox.
Let's do a channel read of, so everyone, let's do a channel read of Hoxpox, and we're going to I'll invite Tom Hiddleston. Only if he comes dressed as Loki.
Hear me out. Let me raise you on that. What if he came dressed as his character in Crimson Peak, which is arguably better and sexier?
There's also a movie where he's naked. He can show up in that outfit too.
That's fine. We can do that. That's fine.
Henry Cavill. So hold up. Hear me out. Let's do like a Henry Cavill, Tom Hiddleston, and Steve Buscemi. Let's get Steve Buscemi on the line because that's
Steve Buscemi.
I have a type. Okay.
So how did you feel about Inferno? Did you love it? Was it everything you had dreamed?
It would probably be a whole ass lot better if I had read Hoxpox. Just kidding. It was really good. So let's all read Hoxpox. Let's do it.
Help.
Okay. So we'll get started on this, and we'll come up with a reading plan, reading order. We'll get Jonathan Hickman on the line, and I assume that he has like a Charlie Day chart behind him, like outlining everything.
Let's get Jonathan Hickman on the line so I can tell him how much I hate his book and how much I hated his writing.
Let's do it. This has been a good
and an exciting show, guys. It's been exciting.
Yeah. I'm just gonna leave this up here. Well, do you have anything else? That's all the comics that I read and didn't read.
Comics that I have.
Then I'm gonna read this book a third ass time.
That's a lot of times.
Yeah. So let's do it. I know any movies, any shows that we've been watching, anything like that?
It's not comics related. And maybe I'm a sheep.
That's okay.
Squid Game. Listen, I'm on the bandwagon. I fucking am obsessed with Squid Game. I'm only on episode 2, so no spoilers. But I'm obsessed. It is literally the Battle Royale goodness that I crave, because if you were around last year, you saw last year, I got completely obsessed with Battle Royale in its manga form, and then it's in movie form. And I've been wanting something to satisfy that craving, and Squid Game is doing it. It's fantastic.
I keep hearing so many good things about it. I don't even know what the fuck it's about. I don't even think that there's squids. I don't even think that there's really a game, but I know that I need to watch it.
There is a game. There is a game.
Oh.
There are no squids.
No squids yet.
There are squids in theory. So TLDR, basically it's a bunch of people that are in debt that are promised money if they enter these games. However, what they don't realize is that these games get extremely ultra violent. Think Battle Royale, where they're killing one another, or they are, betraying one another, or vice versa. And it's It's brutal. It's crazy. I love it. Give me the ultra violence.
Give me the ultra violence. So hopefully I get started on that. Hopefully I get to watch Venom. So yeah, the only other thing that I think that I have coming up on the channel, I want to record a video. I know I say that a million times. We'll see if I actually do it. And I'm going to probably reread Hoxpox on my own, and then we'll read it together.
Okay.
That's it. Anything else? Anything else coming up on your channel?
Hoping, I didn't realize it's already October, so I'm hoping it's not going to be this weekend because it's too hot for that, but hoping to do another Halloween spooky scary skeletons comic reading list coming up. I still have another secret project which you know about that's going to be coming up. I feel like there's a lot of things that I have planned. It's just a matter of doing them between, you know, only having one day off, and the one day off I have is doing the show. And then just this god-awful weather, because you can't film when it's 90 or 80 degrees out. So
no,
hopefully new stuff coming soon.
So everyone, please go, and I'll go ahead and as if everyone is still here, please stick around for like 20 more seconds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and I need all of you to leave and go to Mars's channel and go follow and sub up to her if you haven't already. Jack, Maraglia, it seems like you are just at the end. You're going to have to go back and go to the beginning, because we're at the end, but I do need everyone to go follow Mars if you haven't already,
and then bully Mars into reading Hoxpox,
and then bully Mars literally
media.
I need all of you to just, I mean, you're going to get mailed a copy of like 2 copies of Hoxpox sent to your home, so we can really do this thing. So thank you everyone for being here. Please leave and click on this and leave and get out of here. We're leaving for the day. I hope you all have a wonderful, safe Sunday. I hope you all get to see maybe Venom if you can, and yeah, bye folks, have a wonderful day. Bye.